We'll let you go first, Madison.
And we are
Okay.
live. Today is 11th of November, and this is OSRA Scrum. Here is Craig, Motus, and Nick, and me. Well,
Yeah. I updated my last pull request for the adding the father is dead flag to the importer. So there was one comment earlier from Nick that I disabled some validation because I wanted validation to be in a separate PR, but Nick said they should be together. So I updated that. So now I think this PR covers 3 stories in Jira, 3 subtasks in Jira, part of that story, and that's it basically. This is what I did so far. I found something related to validation. Like even with the current implementation, we've missed something that might cause some issues. Maybe we can discuss this technically, how to solve it, or maybe after the Scrum. To you guys.
If you can explain it quickly, Madison, then
Yeah.
let's hear it.
Well, basically, even with the current implementation, we have some validations that, for example, the orphan must not be older than 22 years old, or date of birth should be within 1 year of father's date of death. These kind of validation where it depends on the value and some logic behind this. This is not being handled by the importer at the moment. So what the importer does in its own validation and in pending orphan validation, things like mandatory fields versus optional fields, date field in Excel file is parsable as a date, for example. The options that, for example, Boolean for mother alive, that the value in the cell matches the predefined values for alive or dead in Arabic. This is the kind of validation that we're doing in importer. We don't have anywhere where we test the dates, for example, or things that now with the new update, father is alive. There is a couple of more advanced or more complicated validations that are required. So if father is alive, he cannot be martyr. If he is alive, date of death should be blank. If he's not alive, date of death should be mandatory. So this kind of validation I have to add, in addition to adding those previous ones that we missed earlier. So I was wondering, should those be done by the importer and by the pending orphan object, or should we pull them out from orphan and have in one module, centralized module that will do these validation, giving maybe a set of 4 or 5 fields that we require validation on, and we can, when we are validating an orphan object, we use that. When we're validating a pending orphan, we use the same module. When we're doing the importer Excel validation as well, we reuse that instead of adding it to all different places. So this is the issue, and this is one of the subtasks that I have to work on. So maybe we pull that out as a separate task, or if you guys have an easier solution, let me know.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
Well, I was just going to say that certainly extracting it out into a module would be the more natural solution rather than just copy-pasting it between the two models. And it certainly does sound like a separate subtask, or sorry, separate chore. It's not a... it's not an immediate part of this introduction of the new template, so or this idea of father being alive. So in that sense, I'm not entirely sure how to handle it then if this is a validation that needs to be performed, but for the moment it's something scheduled for the future. What were you going to say, Craig?
I agree it's a separate subtask, and then I was going to harp on a little bit about validations. I don't believe we're validating the model anyway at the moment, are we, Mortisum? We're just
the orphan model
the values path.
You mean in the importer?
Yeah.
the importer itself, the parsing of the Excel, validates whether a field exists or not. And like I said, it validates if, for example, if it's an option that it
Yeah,
matches
yeah.
one of the predefined texts in Arabic.
Yeah, but it
That's it.
doesn't do anything snazzy like date not in future or
No, nothing. No,
in the say. It doesn't do the model validations. Is what I'm trying to.
it doesn't. It passes all those
Parsing errors.
attributes. They pass.
Yeah.
It passes them to the pending orphan object.
Yeah.
And pending orphan object basically has nothing to validate it except for the existence of some fields or attributes. That's it. So nothing logical is being done.
Yeah. In that respect, it being a separate chore is probably the best way to go.
Okay. So now I've already submitted my PR, and it assumes that best of intention for the fixture file and whatever they will upload. So if father date of death, for example, cannot be in the future, it just verifies that it is a date. So this piece of validation, we're trusting the user for now. So when you code review the PR, keep that in mind, and I'll create another short to handle this other part as well.
I mean, the record wouldn't get saved anyway, would it?
It won't, but it will not fail gracefully. It will. When they click import, it will just crash and give them the error page saying I could not have saved in the orphan.
Yeah.
And it might lead to, like, if orphan list has 10 orphans, the 3 of them got saved, the 4th failed, it will crash. So it's a mess.
Okay, guys. Nick, say us about client meeting and what was accepted, because I see too many stories in resolve.
Hang on just a second. I'm typing a message back to Rose. Because, okay, you know what, this can wait. So the client meeting was, nothing was accepted. We demoed orphan genders filter that Modism had implemented.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Have I said about Nick about client meeting with?
Yeah, that's what I started talking about. Did you miss the beginning?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So what we demoed to them was Modism's story about filtering the orphans. If I can try to find the number for it, it was 204. We demoed to them the add agent to sponsor, OSRA 205, and we demoed to them the importer, OSRA 70. So I actually pushed these stories out to the staging server earlier in the day, and they had taken a look at the agent story and had given me some feedback, and I've since submitted a PR to address what they said. Nothing else has been accepted. I've poked them at the same time as I posted the new stories. I poked them about 2, I think, that had been unresolved. I think one of them had been accepted, but the other one is still sitting there. And these new stories that we demoed, nothing's been done.
So the gender filter, they're not happy with it somehow? Or?
No, they haven't said anything. They haven't said yes or no. They looked at it in the client meeting, and we left all those new features for them to test themselves and to let us know.
So they will accept or reject later in a Google Plus post, right?
Presumably, yes.
Okay.
And what we ended up saying, Craig and I took a look at the stories for phase 0 that were left, and we thought that it is feasible for us to actually finish all the phase 0 stuff that is left within this week, the week that we're currently in, and so we basically weren't sure how to proceed, if we should start a new sprint or if we just do this kind of one week, I don't know, wrap up to get everything done and pushed and set up the production server and get everything pushed there.
In theory, we should finish that sprint and start a new one. In real life, if it is always an issue that you make last sprint 1 week longer to handle all things.
Yeah.
Let's just do it 1 week longer and the main reason because we just don't have enough resources to make planning meeting and retrospective meeting now. It's just better to finish all that left here and push it into production. After that, have a retrospective meeting and decide what to do.
Regarding production, I forgot to mention that I created the production S3 bucket, and I will also create the repo for the production branch.
Are you going to send Nick those details when you have them?
Yes,
I got them already. Thanks, Modus.
Cool.
Okay.
So Modus, I'm just to finish that up. For the time being, I'll set it up as, I don't know what, OSRA production, herokuapp.com, and then we can.
We can try with OSRA on its own. Is that taken? We can try. If not, we
just
can...
OSRA, yeah. Okay, I'll give it.
If it's available, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Craig.
Sorry. Sorry, I was doing something else. I've submitted a pull request, and I've not been around much, and I'm trying to do little bits of everything and keep on top of everything. I've got some more work I'm going to try and do tonight, and that's all I have to.
Okay, guys, what?
Craig, just 1 second. Craig, the importer refactor PR,
Yeah.
I think it needs rebase. And if you are planning to add more of those tests that depend on Arabic, you can add them, and I will fix them again. Like last time.
Restore. I'm not going to rebase that, and there's more work that needs to be done on it. And part of that was the changes to the Excel files, so it's not ready to be merged anyway. That's cool.
Guys, what have you heard about that stories from Brian about ordering orphans and start and end date of sponsorship?
I had one PR merged.
Yeah, that was about payment plan.
Sorry.
What about these two?
OSRA 178, the ordering of orphans on the sponsorship screen, I know that he had essentially restarted it from scratch, and he has a pull request for it that is sitting there, and I'm disappointed that he's not here because I have a question to ask about that PR. Because I'm still not clear about sort of the way that we're implementing the functionality here. But yeah, the PR that Craig referred to, the one that got merged, it was after he had reworked it based on all the comments we had given him. It was very nice, very clean, exactly to the point. So I think he's shaping up to be a very good contributor. And the other story, yeah, I don't think anything's been done there as far as I can tell. I mean, last time we spoke, yesterday, I guess we had a scrum, and he was saying that everything that he had in progress was more or less finished, and he would be ready to start the next one. But it seems to me that there is at least one more chore that he has. or sorry, one more subtask
Mm-hmm.
that he has to address there before.
Okay. When I cannot understand what you've discussed with a client about the stories which still left for phase 0, because what I see here, it is about updating orphan list and about 2 stories from Brian. Is it correct? Or there is something else?
One of yours was outstanding, Nick, wasn't it? But we've
Yeah.
merged it since.
Yeah, so I have, what do I have that's still outstanding? I have this modifying the agent views that I submitted a PR for today. When we spoke, Alex's story was still not finished, but that is now done. So I think those were the things that we were thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because the start and end date, the way we decided to implement them in the end was a very simple, basic implementation that we can improve upon in the future, but I'll leave it simple for now.
Mm-hmm.
And the city field, the city.
Yeah, that's
always pushed. Already submitted, right? They
yeah,
haven't seen. They haven't seen it.
they haven't seen it, but it's merged in.
It's city to sponsor.
Yeah.
Then you should move these 4 subtasks into done.
Where am I here?
Because we are still here.
Oh yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Just interesting, who has that sound? It's my sound or your tick-tock? Oops.
Yeah, this my signal. I'm driving.
I thought it was Pavel's tin heart.
Sorry, Motosov, if you are driving, you shouldn't switch off your your turn lighters. Or how is it? It's okay.
Pavel needs a replacement for his tin heart. Someone needs courage, and I need a brain. So we just need to work out which one's Dorothy.
I think we just pick those and shuffle them around and see what comes out of it.
Sorry guys, today I'm so stupid I cannot understand his joke, but I think it's
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Movie, yeah.
Okay. What about this update orphan list Excel file format? Is it still so many subtasks? Not.
I marked like 3 subtasks as code review. No, they're not merged definitely because I just submitted them this morning.
Okay.
So based on we just discussed that I will take one of those subtasks, create a separate story, and take it out from there.
Mm-hmm.
And based on the code review for those, I will mark them as resolved or still.
Nick, what about modify agent show view, add agent to sponsor? I think it's the same situation. It should be done because this one is
it's not. It's so I had finished the story and it was merged in, and after the client saw it, they said that they wanted the views to be different from the way that I had implemented them. So.
Okay. Well. Okay. And on which task Alex is working now?
He doesn't have one at the moment, I think.
He has 2 tasks. Remember last Scrum, we've discussed what he can do before client meeting, and we discussed about this problem with extension of file, and the second problem with something else. Do you remember?
The file extension, he was supposed to look into it, not necessarily write any code.
Yeah.
And then the second story, I don't remember what it was. Yesterday when we spoke in the Scrum, what I told him is that since we're in this kind of uncertain situation with our sprint getting extended by a week and generally pushing towards production, I wasn't sure that we want to get sidetracked working on a story that doesn't belong to phase 0. So I think basically I delegated all responsibility to you, Pavel. I said that when Pavel comes back, he'll tell us what to do.
No,
Um,
funny, okay. But I cannot say what to do. I don't know what to do.
yeah.
Okay.
He didn't say anything yesterday about that issue with Excel file extensions, if he's looked into it or if he's found anything.
But you haven't asked, right?
I did not ask him directly, no.
Okay. Okay. Okay, well.
Okay, guys, I have to leave.
Yeah, sure,
All
Max.
right.
We are almost
Before
done.
that, like just before I started the Hangout, there were a couple of messages on Slack, Sam and somebody else, and it was a bit disturbing. Like somebody reported that there were some unfriendly messages
Yeah.
to somebody coming to join the Scrum.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Hi,
That,
Rose.
yeah,
Hi.
hi, that was me. My students joined one of your scrums and they were really intimidated. Now, I mean, that could just be that it was their first time and any little thing kind of scared them. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Rose, there is a difference
I
between...
wasn't there, so I just wanted to mention this, and maybe if I
Yeah,
can discuss the whole thing now, just to like, see if we need to have a separate discussion or on Slack, because I was not aware of this and I did not see the recording yet.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to hear it and see what the different perspectives are. Again, my students might just be overreacting if no one is aware that they came off that way.
Okay.
I mean, I told them, my biggest concern is that some potential developer will join one of your scrums and then be kind of scared away. Okay? But as far as my students are concerned, I talked with them yesterday in class and I said, look, when you go into the working world, you're going to have to deal with all kinds of stuff. And people will purposefully be intimidating you and maybe giving you problems, I mean, as opposed to inadvertently, okay? And I said, you have to toughen up. You have to kind of understand, and if you feel that way, you should say something and just be honest. That way you'll know, was it someone's intention or was it inadvertent?
Rose, the only thing I can say is that I recommend that you watch the video then and
Yeah,
see
sure.
exactly what transpired, because I don't think from my point of view, there was no either intentional or unintentional intimidation or anything. I mean, we were serious about what we were doing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we did not, we did not pick on them. We did not make any derogatory comments about them. We did not say that the project was not suitable for them per se.
Oh, no. I know you didn't say that.
Okay.
The thing that they objected to is that apparently someone said that, like, when they didn't have questions, well, like, is it because you don't care? And that got them really freaked out.
Okay. Well, I recommend that you watch the video and draw
Yeah,
your
no,
own.
but maybe I really said that. Yeah, that's true. Maybe.
Pavel, the way I recall your words, you said you have no questions because everything is clear, or you have no questions because you don't care. That was how it was said, and
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
lighthearted, and it was
Yeah,
not
okay.
meant to be.
All right. So, I mean, up until now, that's why I brought it up, to hear your side.
Okay.
And it sounds to me like they just overreacted, or somehow, again, maybe because it was their first experience and they were a little excited, nervous, whatever. Do you see where I'm coming from? That they
I
just heard it a certain way.
okay.
But I mean,
Yeah.
as I said, I told them, look, that's you can't just like, oh, something happens and I run away. I said, no, I mean, you need to talk to people and say, am I understanding, your tone or not? Don't just complain about it. Just do something about it. but I want to make sure on your side that it's not going to be something that may affect a potential member. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Well, we've had 2 new members join us in the past, month and a half. So,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem that we're that intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. That's great. That's really my only concern, is that I want to see Agile Ventures continue to be successful. I can handle my students, if
Yeah,
they
I don't
have.
know. With students, it's hard, sometimes quite hard to work with them because we like a blank paper, and sometimes when it's experienced developer, for example, or
Yeah.
not developer, but experienced person, you
Mhm.
talking, you may do some jokes or you may talk referring to their experience, and with students it's much harder. I have my own
Mhm.
class in here of young students, and it's
Yeah.
really sometimes hard to describe them what is a Scrum about, because we just
Mhm.
didn't know about what is
Mhm.
waterfall, for example, and you
Mhm.
cannot compare in good way with referring to experience.
Sure.
So
Sure.
maybe I said something wrong. I don't know. I hope I don't, but maybe
Yeah, but I
that.
mean, as long as I know that uh, now that I've gotten your input, then I know how to come back to them and say, hey, look, they may have just been a little over nervous or over excited about doing this for the first time. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, sure.
And I said to them yesterday, and I will continue to say this, that don't get crazy about this stuff. Just let it, accept it, and move on. And if you really object to it, then open your mouth and say something. Don't just come complain to me.
Yeah, that's why maybe OSRA Scrum is not the best candidate to participate first time, because here we try to use pure Scrum and work in and
Right,
more
right.
closely to work in conditions. And here I
Yeah.
may be more strict in case of talking
Sure,
with
and you should
developers.
be. Yes,
Yeah,
and you should be. And I told them that also. I said, this is a very serious project. I said, I understand that they're interested in it because they feel it's a very worthy cause. But I said, at the same time, you guys are not experienced yet. I told them that it may not be the best project for someone so new. I said, check out the other projects. Uh, because I understand why you might be very strict. You should be, because this is a very serious project. I
Name
didn't tell
you.
them, that you guys wouldn't want them or something. I just said, look, if you are really interested in this project, you're going to have to make a big commitment, and that's what I told them. I said you're going to need to work very hard, at least an hour or two a day. And I said, if you're not willing to do that, then that's not one of the projects you should be investigating.
And
Well,
again,
I
I
mean,
think Bob,
all of that's irrelevant to me.
Craig, go ahead.
We don't have an issue with anyone joining and being involved in a scrum. They're always welcome, and I think people are just surprised that that maybe we've given an incorrect uh, impression.
Yeah, well, I was shocked because any scrum I've been in, and I told them I'd been in previous OSRA scrums, and I listened in and even participated a little bit. And I said everyone's always been very welcoming, and I really have enjoyed it. The only thing I said is, look, this is a very serious project, so no haha, no, like you have to be serious if you're interested in this. But if they got the wrong impression, I mean, now I can just say I am positive that they got the wrong impression, and I will tell them that, and I'll just say, hey, if you're that oversensitive, maybe you need to kind of walk in the real world a little while. I mean,
Rose,
yeah,
watch the video and play it in the class
yeah, sure.
in front of the
That's a
oh,
good idea.
and,
oh
and
guys,
That
dissect it.
The problem
That's
with
what I need
video,
to do.
the problem
Yeah.
with video that you cannot see all faces in video with these small icons, as I understand,
Yeah, yeah. You
and
know,
that is very
that's true. That's true because you get a lot of information from people's
yes.
expressions.
And what's
Maybe,
yeah, and
yeah,
why I asked some questions because I saw that some of students not looking at us and just discussing or smiling at something, and I asked them about, so try to involve them more in.
right,
Yeah,
right.
that's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that you cannot see in video. Yeah,
It's
but
true.
definitely you
Yeah, no, I'll do that in class. I think that's a great idea, and as I said, I think, some of these students, they're just so overprotected. And on the one hand, they are my students, so I need to, if I feel that something's happened, I need to look into it. On the other hand, I understand too that if they are overprotected and not used to, certain uh, ways of dealing with people, or again, just not seeing the expression, that this sort of thing can happen. So again, I mean, I'm not off put by this at all, but I just want to bring it up just in case you have another, you know, some other group comes in and they have a misunderstanding.
Appreciate that.
okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
you guys are great. I've got, I'm not going to complain. And if they thought, I think they thought that Pavel was yelling at them, and for all I know, he was just trying to speak up. I mean, when we have our meetings in class, our little Scrum stand-up meetings, I know the hardest thing that I have with these students is to get them to speak up. I'm constantly telling them, I need to hear you from the other side of the room. You need to project, and they're like in these little wimpy voices trying to explain what's going on. So
I'm
it all
still
may
like
be
that
related.
now. I'm still like that now, and Pavel has to yell at me. Gee.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Yeah. So I'm guessing that that's all part of it. So I will you know uh, have a little talk with them. We will play the video, and I will give them all the points that you've just given me. But I'm happy to
Okay.
hear that that's what it is because I was really surprised.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, guys. What else should we discuss? Craig, what are you going to do?
I've got a couple of chores. I'm going to work on, excuse me, some unique indexes. I've submitted a PR. I don't think there's anything urgent that I need to be doing otherwise, is there, Nick, other than the stories that I've already tagged?
I think the only thing we need to look at is what's Brian's progress, because he's the one with 2 stories still outstanding.
Okay, well, we can reach out to him on Slack and see how that goes, and if
Yeah,
you need a hand, maybe we can dive in there.
yeah, I think so. Maybe let him wrap up the orphan sorting, and maybe one of us can then take the start end dates off his hands then.
Cool beans.
And then, yeah, other than that, I'll start setting up the production server. And like I said, um, I suggested installing New Relic, and Modus asked if there was really any serious need for that. I think the value that I see for it is that it will tell us, it's more for us to get feedback about our code essentially, because it'll tell us what queries are taking a long time. It'll tell us when when Ruby is working very intensively, so we'll be able to look at these things and maybe optimize in the future.
I think if we can do that and it gives us more information, then that's a great thing.
Okay. Okay, guys. Then see you tomorrow, and thank you, Rose, for feedback.
Oh, well, thank you.
Nobody.
I mean, again, I don't want to create any bad feelings here, but I think you guys. It sounds to me like you're in the right, and my students are just being, I don't know, crazy.
Well, no, I mean, if people feel threatened, it's handy to have the feedback,
Right, right.
and maybe maybe we aren't in the wrong per se, but maybe we're just not used to dealing with people who haven't been in the workplace for a couple
Exactly.
of years. So
Exactly.
I honestly don't know, but it's useful to know because maybe we're intimidating without realizing we're being intimidating. So and these things are only ever problems if we don't talk about them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well said,
So
Greg.
I think I'm sorry if this took up a bunch of your time. I know that.
No. I mean, the feedback is always good, and if you don't take time to talk about it in the moment, you never deal with it. So
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, great all around as far as I'm concerned.
cool.
Great learning experience.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about for
Yeah.
all of us.
Me too.
Okay, thank you, Ross.
Okay. Good
Okay,
stuff.
guys, see you tomorrow.
Take
See you
care.
tomorrow.
Take
Okay.
care.
Bye.
Bye.